If we could all stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday night, January 23rd, Town of Southeast Town Hall meeting. If you'd notice the exits behind you, and there's an exit behind us over here. If you could please turn off or put your phone and all electronic devices on vibrate. Kathy, can we get a roll call?
Yes. Councilman Cypress?
Here.
Councilman Larka?
Here.
Councilwoman Lewis?
Here.
Councilman Mazzata?
Here.
Supervisor Durante?
Here. Thank you, Kathy. I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session with no action taken.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we can go right into our work discussion. Today, our first discussion is 466A, Volunteer Fire and Ambulance Exemption Amendment. So basically, what this is I'm not 100% sure where it came from, Lori.
Would you like to explain it? There's a provision that was adopted by the state legislature last year that allows for a town to extend an exemption for volunteer fire and ambulance service, a partial exemption for their taxes for service in the volunteer fire service. This now would extend that authority to people who own property in this town, but actually serve as volunteers in an adjoining town, city, or village. So, and it was, the legislature basically said this can be adopted by adopting a local law amending our current exemption, which I've already drafted, and if the board wants to go this way, they would be setting a public hearing for February 6th,
Yep.
later on in the meeting.
Yeah, I'm definitely, this is something I'm okay with. I wonder if we can find out, since they did it last year, if volunteerism went up. I'm very curious, actually. I'm going to check that out.
I think that's always the intention when legislatures do this. It might be difficult to get that statistic, but it does incentivize
Yeah.
people. I say, well, for instance, if where I live, I could just as easily volunteer at
Connecticut.
Putnam Lake Fire Department, which is another town.
Yeah.
And if I were to do that, then I could, I could be eligible for a partial exemption of my real estate taxes.
Anyone have any questions, comments, or?
No, I have no concerns.
No? Okay. All right, we'll move on. This next discussion, the DeBonis Southeast Duncan 617 Route 22, tax ID 46-1-21. Basically, we're just going to reference this to the zoning board. There's a couple of issues.
Because they're classified as a fast food restaurant, because they're going to have a drive-through.
Yep.
There is a provision in our zoning code that one of the conditions of the special permit limits the proximity of fast food restaurants to one another. And I believe off the top of my head it's 1,000 feet, but that may have been shortened at some point in time. But because of the location of this proposed Dunkin' at the corner of 312 and 22, as the crow flies, it's right across from the McDonald's, diagonally across, and it probably within that 1,000-foot restriction. So the application then would be to the zoning board of appeals to have that they call them bulk limitations varied to allow it to be within maybe 500 feet, or whatever the distance.
Whatever that distance would be, yeah. Okay.
And that again is something that's discretionary with the zoning board of appeals, but generally, if they're deemed to be a bulk variance, they're not as difficult as a use variance.
Anyone have comments or questions?
Nope.
Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks on the same road. It's going to be interesting. All right, I'd like to make a motion to open the regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading of the correspondence.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the voucher list for $1,105,601.25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Supervisor's report, I talked with our accountant today, and we don't have the numbers for December, so we don't really, we have a good idea where we're at, but I don't have any solid numbers for you this week. But there is something here that I need to read that I had written up with a couple of councilmen to clarify something that happened earlier in the year. So I will just get to it. It's come to my attention that a procedure earlier in my term was handled incorrectly. I'd like to address this situation to provide a clear and understanding of what happened. I underwent back surgery on December 19th, 2023. Timing was not ideal, but the procedure was necessary. And unfortunately, this impacted my ability to be fully effective as supervisor until early March. The town requires constant supervision. While we have many capable employees working for the town of Southeast, this responsibility was not theirs to bear, and it needed to be managed during my absence. Given the circumstances, and with mostly newly elected board, I asked Eric Cypress and Eric Larka to handle my responsibilities while I was on medical leave, along with my confidential secretary, Chris Dubois. To compensate them for the additional duties, I made the decision to provide both councilmen with a stipend. Providing stipend to elected officials for additional responsibilities is a common and legal practice. While these stipends were approved via a fund transfer at a public meeting, the increase in salary was not included in the public notice posted in 2023. The oversight was unintentional. At the time, we did not foresee the challenges the new year would bring. In Councilman Larka's case, a deputy supervisor, he is permitted to receive an additional stipend without the need for public notice. In Councilman Cypress's case, we could have resolved this by passing a local law at a regular meeting. Once we realized this oversight, both councilmen decided it would be best to discontinue the stipends, especially since I had returned and resumed performing my duties as supervisor. Additionally, Councilman Cypress reduced his future pay for several weeks to effectively repay this stipend. That was actually against my wishes, but we're trying to do the right thing here. There was no nefarious intent at any point. Our intent was solely to serve the residents of Southeast to the best of our ability. I would like to express my gratitude to my confidential secretary, Chris Dubois, who goes beyond the call, and all the other town employees, and the town board, especially Councilman Larka and Councilman Cypress, for their assistance during this time. All of their support was invaluable, and we would not be where we are today without their help. We are all here to serve the town and make decisions in accordance with town codes, laws, and procedures while being transparent. As part of this commitment, all stipends for elected officials have been included in the 2024 public notice to eliminate any potential controversy in the future, something that had not been done in the past. Thank you, everyone, for supporting me and the town, especially when I was down and out. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'd like to actually make a motion to set a public hearing for February 6, 2025, here at 1360 Route 22 for the proposed local law to amend Chapter 126.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd need to set meetings and public hearings. All meetings will be held at 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York, at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Thursday, February 6th, 2025, and Thursday, February 20th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to refer DeBonis Southeast Duncan, 617 Route 22, tax ID 2021-22 to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have one resolution this evening. I know it's here. Nico's Seafood Establishment Performance Bond. Nico's is gonna be on Route 6 going towards Danbury. They're starting to cut some trees down over there. Now therefore be it resolved that the bond amount shall be established for the project set forth below. Project name, Nico Seafood, site improvements, $377,000. Soil and erosion bond, $23,100. And be it further resolved that the certified copy of this resolution shall be transmitted by the town clerk to the planning board secretary forthwith. So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So our next item is any new business?
Actually, I'll bring up the peddling and solicitor permit.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of complaints about a company going around knocking on people's doors. Historically, that was not legal in the town of Southeast. We were forced to make a policy so that there was a path for vendors to seek those permits. One has received a permit, and there's been a lot of complaints. It's causing a lot of additional work, in my opinion. So I think that we should revisit the fees and increase them. And so my question is, can we do that before we approve the new fee schedule?
Because it's not on the fee schedule, right,
Well,
Kath? It's-
no, technically it's bulked in with the food truck,
Okay.
so we might want to
Reword
reword that
that?
as food truck and peddling and soliciting, would be my suggestion.
Yeah, because the food truck
Can we
probably
break them
can
out?
stay.
Yeah, break them apart.
The
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
the food truck-
So we would need to make a new one if we're
Yeah.
doing that.
I think
Yeah.
the fees are in the statute,
They are correct, that is correct, they are.
so we'd have to amend the statute. I mean, if there's the permit,
So we need a local law.
we'd need a local law, correct?
So we'd have to have a public hearing.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, can we do that when we do the fines? Because we need a public hearing for the fines.
Yeah, we could do, that could be part of that same, yeah. We could do it the same day. It doesn't, I mean, it might have to be a separate local law, because it's not a,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a fine, it's a fee, and for whatever reason it was, and I can check this again, but to see if it actually is, the fee is in the statute. It there may be a wording that says that the fee shall be in accordance with the fee schedule.
I think-
I don't know off the top of my head.
I read the one online, I may have missed it, but I think it reads that way.
Oh, good, then all we have to do is add it to the fee schedule. I don't know why it wasn't added separately from the food trucks, but.
And, yes, and I would separate it, because I don't think we should raise the food truck
No.
one.
No,
Yeah,
I don't want to discourage that.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
so then when we approve the new fee schedule,
We'll add it as.
it'll be
as
right
a-
there.
As an item,
Okay.
yeah.
No, that's good, yeah, because this is, I understand that, people gotta try to make money, but like Wendy said, in today's day and age, with people knocking on the door when it's getting dark,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
If we could ban it like we had it, I would vote for that.
but
Yeah.
we're pretty
There's-
positive we can't do
Well,
that.
I think there was a company going around suing towns.
And we were in their crosshairs.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a way to enforce the unlawfulness of it?
Well, see,
For
the thing
those
is,
that don't have a
you
permit,
can,
'cause
you
there's a
can
law.
limit
Yeah.
time.
So,
It's
I'm
No,
sorry.
our question's way
I mean,
different.
limit time that they can solicit. I mean, like, so you're not knocking on the door.
Oh, after 5
And I think
o'clock.
that, I think our
January
code
1st to
might,
January 2nd.
I'm talking about, 8 AM to 8 PM.
Noon to,
Okay,
There's a lot of different companies.
yeah, so there was a pest control company that didn't have a permit, and we
Oh.
talked to Mike, and he sent them a letter, and I think they stopped, but
There's a window company,
I think they have to catch them in the act,
that's the problem.
yeah.
so let's say somebody gets a knock on the door, who do they call? Do they call the police at
They
that
can.
point? Or do they call our
Well, they could call
inspector?
the police, but the police are basically gonna say, that's a local law issue. We're not gonna enforce
It's
it.
not us, yeah.
But, and, if it's a weekend, you don't have staff
Yeah.
that are gonna be out there. Except, that, if there's I know that Peter Bell works 24/7.
I called Peter Bell about
It's a heavy lifter.
If I've had contact information, I have contacted the company.
Good. No, that's,
Well, we changed our noise ordinance so that the sheriff's department could enforce it if we weren't available. Could we do something like that?
conceivably, but doesn't mean that they're gonna be willing to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so I guess the first step is to read the statute and see if it's in there. If it's not, then we'll do the fee change. And you can only limit it by hours. You couldn't limit it to like weekdays only.
I think you can prohibit like Sunday solicitation, things like that. I know that there've been, I've seen it in other jurisdictions. I can't say off the top of my head whether it's ever been challenged successfully, but if you wanted to, if you wanted to put in, solicitation can't be, earlier than 8 AM or earlier than 9 AM, and then no later than, 6 PM, I think that would probably pass muster.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. If somebody knocks on my door before 8 AM, I think my daughter's gonna handle it, so.
Is Kathy, so they were.
My
out-
daughter is armed.
They were out of compliance.
They are, yes, that is correct, yes, and they have been made aware, yeah.
So do they, are they not eligible for the permit anymore?
I told them their permit is suspended until I have documentation that is not expired.
Okay. I wonder if they violated, if they're even eligible for a permit again.
I don't remember I do remember drafting a lot of this, but it's been a few
Okay.
years.
All right.
Kathy,
We'll look
how
at
long
it.
is a permit good for?
Whole year?
If you could do multiple dates, you could do a 6-month if
It was
it's on
a day,
there.
a month, 6
Yeah.
months.
Or a year.
Okay.
The-
Get rid of the year?
The one and only company that does have it is a yearly. They pay for each license.
That's a good.
And then each individual solicitor's gotta be.
That is correct. They paid for each one.
And that's why they were.
Each person that came to the door.
That's correct, yes.
And he said there were only 2 employees, correct?
There's 2 currently. There had been
Yeah.
as many as 8.
Okay.
And those two didn't have the permit, that.
Those 2 were in violation because their documentation was expired.
Okay. Will, could we change the permit to a month?
Yeah,
Maximum.
come in every month.
That's a good question. I don't know how restrictive you can be.
Well, technically, they could reapply. It would be like a burn permit. It's good
Right.
for 30
Yeah.
days or something, right?
I don't know that that's ever been interpreted by any court, but I don't see any glaring reason why they couldn't come in and ask for, it could also work against you, though, in that if you want the higher revenue, you're gonna want the 6-month permit or the year permit. But if you're gonna do it on a monthly basis, they're gonna come in and say, well, we're gonna solicit the town 1 month and, whatever you set for the fee is.
Maybe it could be a permit fee and then a renewal. Renewal's cheaper, permit fee's more. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll think about it.
Do you have numbers in mind, or?
Yeah, as much as possible.
Not a half a million dollars?
don't say enough to make it prohibitive.
No. Just to cover it. Well, we should see we could come up with a formula, I think.
I'll even call a couple other towns and see how they do it.
And the Association of Towns is a good resource
Yeah,
for this,
yeah.
too.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other new business, guys? Any?
Oh, sir.
No? All right, so we can ask if anyone from the public wants to come up and speak with us for a bit. I want to tape it over. The whole system will go down. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Evening. Scott Seaman, Town of Southeast. First, from the school board, I just wanted to send our greetings. Just some items we wanted to highlight. Right now, it looks like the security vestibule will be done March into April. And then the other projects, of course, will take off more as the weather changes. Right now, they're doing what they can. And the biggest part of the project, the cafetorium at CV Star, has gone out for bid. So right now, there are bid letters out. I think some have come in and they're being reviewed. That'll be the meat and bones of the project. That's the really heavy construction, and that'll be the next stage, but that's in the planning right now. Highlight, of course, our ROTC program. They've done very great in the riflery, going to nationals, our orienteering, going to nationals. I mean, this is an incredible program. It's 20% of the high school, and we're very proud of it, and we're looking forward a lot from them. And to highlight the most recent accomplishment, our physics teacher, Brittany Kozlenko, has been awarded a presidential award, one of, I believe, only 6 in New York State. When you think physics, think Brittany. She was my oldest daughter's favorite teacher, and she was her swim coach. She does nothing but improve everything that goes on with the district. She's on the science committee. Her accomplishments are too long to list, and I'll just screw them up anyway, so I won't. But those are items we wanted to bring to attention.
That's great.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
probably bring her in.
Right, and I will talk to Dr. Gosh,
Yeah.
and I will mention your interests.
For
and
sure.
You guys. I cannot speak for them, but I will mention it to them.
Okay.
Now, as a town of Southeast resident, I would just like to make a question to the board. I know we've been very proactive in a lot of items that have come up, vape shops, other items, for the quality of the town and community. I know it's not popular, but I would ask the town to look into a moratorium on storage facilities and warehouses. Going to a number of meetings, looking at our various communities around here, that's the only thing that's really coming around here is warehouses and storage buildings. Pauling's got stuff going now, Patterson, there's a giant one being built over in Mayapack, Carmel has them, we have them, and more are coming. But they don't do anything for our town. I know the pluses and the minuses, I've been told this over and over again, they don't draw on our emergency services, our police departments, they don't draw on our resources, they're very low on that and high, they do not send any children into the school districts. So a lot of that is win, but they offer no community. They offer, will become a strip road community. They offer nothing for our children, very low on the amount of jobs. It's just nothing that's really benefiting us all. Of course, we want to put the tax base aside. Any improvement to that is always a benefit. But for the community itself, it does not help us. It doesn't make us a town. You're gonna go, hey, Brewster, Southeast. Oh, that's the place with all the storage places. That's not the place with the great restaurant. That's not the place with the incredible stores, the handmade stuff, the small local communities, the stuff that would make us more of a draw. And once again, I look for, my children, there's nothing in this town that really has them a reason for them to stay, besides the fact that there's also no place they can afford to live. But that's a whole nother topic for another night. And so I would just ask you to consider it. Once again, I know it's not popular, but I can't in good conscience not bring this up, considering how many and what is going on with this. So I would just, thank you for your attention to that.
Don't leave yet. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna respond to that.
Yeah.
I agree with you on, I wish we had better uses for some of this stuff, but you look at a road like, well, number one, I think the economics and the economy that we're in and just the cost of just triple net leases because of taxes, it's prohibitive for any retail to really open up any stores. I mean, the ones that we have are closing, but then you take a road like, let's say, like Fields Lane, having a big building on land that somebody owns, what else would you really use it for that would contribute to the community? So Eric, actually the board, we talked about doing a comprehensive plan. We were gonna try and do it this year. Eric was leading the charge on that, but we couldn't get grant money, and you could probably talk to that better. It was very expensive, but I think we're gonna try to do that next year. So we could certainly look into where it's allowed, but there's probably certain places where, as long as it's not excessive like the ones that are being built, it's not a bad idea. And I know everybody seems to hate self-storage, but
I do too. It's my pet peeve.
I know, but so
I hate them.
I was driving down 22 or 55. It was at Catamount coming home. There's a building that looks like it's an office building. If you drove by, this is a office building where people work, and it was self-storage, no garage, nothing.
It was all in the back, probably. The doors
but
are
still,
probably
you
in the
don't
back.
But yeah, you don't see them. So that could have been corporate 500 company
Right.
or a building filled with tchotchkes that nobody's, I don't know why they're storing it.
Yes, but a corporate 500 company is going to be giving us jobs and other items. And there's a giant, hey, the giant one in Mayapack looks like a beautiful barn. It's probably one of the most beautiful designs you've ever seen, but it's a self-storage facility.
Right, but
So-
corporate 500 companies aren't building offices, right? So my point is, what does it matter what's inside as long as it's something that looks nice for the community? And I think when people think self-storage, they think this building with all these garage doors, and that is in our code that they can't do that. You can't see any garage doors. And it's also in our code, I believe, when we did this, that it has to be built in a way that it could be modified to be an office building. So if Tompkins Bank was built as self-storage and then that failed, they could turn it into an office and vice versa.
Right, there's one approved across from Acme. And the
Yes.
very first thing they came in and they asked for a ordinance on the roll-ups in the back. Yes, they're in the back, but they had to change the size, they had to change it, so we do have
Right.
code existing, but what we did was we gave them a variance anyway. So
I guess
I
I-
understand your point, and I know the board's not out to do this. I'm just saying,
I just don't want the public to think like we're
Yeah,
warehouse, and, you know.
well, you could do
whatever.
that. You could turn this into that, you could easily change our codes and laws, and you would be the #1 spot. We would have an incredible tax base, and we would be the storage center of New York State, and I don't wish that on anybody.
Yeah,
You know,
and-
but also Micron is developing all upstate. So, I mean, there are places, and obviously their real estate is a lot cheaper than ours, so that is a context. But with all this high point of microcomputers and chips and development and AI and everything,
There is also,
Yeah.
Nick would know more about this than me, but Lesser Evil is renting one of the buildings that was just built, and I believe they're moving their whole headquarters there, right?
Yeah, they don't have enough room where they're at.
Right.
So this is 300,000 square feet. So the good thing is, we think they're gonna get some jobs around here, because we introduced them to the Endicos up at Ace Endico, because we kind of feel like they both run their business with the thought process of employees first.
is
So
the popcorn place?
yeah, yeah. They're expanding very quickly.
Yeah, they're taking one of the spots at distribution center.
Oh, yeah, the smaller building.
Yeah.
But they actually spoke with the Endicos about how they hire people out of the town. So hopefully they're gonna be hiring some people,
Yeah, hopefully.
which would be nice.
And, you know, a lot of things, Ace Endico, people think about that as being like a food distribution. And I think you've gotten a tour of it. The whole second story of that building
place
is
is office.
wild. They have their entire finance
The local
team
Boy
there.
Scout troop just did a tasting up there. They took
Yeah.
them upstairs, they taught them how to cook, they did
Oh,
tasting. I
yeah, in
mean,
the kitchen there, that
Yeah,
big
yeah,
kitchen?
they're an incredible, you know.
Yeah.
So I just.
So bring me a whole bunch of Ace Endicos, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, but that's, you know, it's a warehouse. So
Right.
I just don't want people to think that we're.
Oh, if I made that in,
I don't think-
I
No,
withdraw
no,
that,
no.
because I would never say that about this board, at least not to your face. But I appreciate your work as always, but it's just something,
When we.
if we wait too long, we're gonna be that place.
And I don't, quite frankly, I don't think there's much left.
I was just gonna say
No,
that.
we are
Not a
getting
lot of space
saturated.
I know.
Left for building, so we might be at our.
But we'll look, when we do the plan, we'll look through all that.
All right.
And you did kind of
Thank you for
touch
your
on it, Scott,
consideration.
but, you know, we're very water and sewer limited in town, and those uses,
Yeah.
they don't use anything, you know, and so there are some pieces of property that's kind of the only thing that can go
Right.
there.
I know, and we're the only, probably town in Putnam County which has DEP, DEC on every part of us.
Yeah,
So
here
we
we're like
are
99
limited
point
to that.
something
But,
percent, yeah.
nothing like fighting New York City, come on.
And apparently there's a new regulation where
Oh,
every
God.
permit is gonna be a wetland permit from now on?
We just got word today
I wouldn't
about
put it
that.
past them, but yes, and there's probably a very high,
It's like
charge on that.
25% to 50-something percent. It's-
welcome to New
Oh.
York.
But I wanted to ask
Thank
you about the track.
Yes.
When's the outlook on that?
Like I said, we've already made arrangements for like a lot of the track plans to possibly perform at other facilities, as we've done in the past when we did work, Pauling and some other spots, and they've already reached out. And, it's really gonna be weather contingent. I mean, the first half of this year, we were extremely lucky in getting the football field done under budget and under time.
Yep.
because the weather was fantastic. But now it's been,
a
you
big
know,
pile of snow there,
frozen.
that's right.
We have pipes in some of the buildings freezing. I mean, this is, who's to know? We could hope for it. But I think the plan is, you know, to be realistic, the season at the school won't be this year, but it could happen.
Yeah.
You know, and they made these plans, and like I said, the amount, and the forethought, like, if you drive up to the track, there's a giant pile of dirt on the corner.
yeah.
And you're like, what's that? Well, actually, this time, they scraped all the topsoil and they stored it. Instead of, you normally would just
Oh, nice.
have it hauled away. But they had the forethought, you know, Mr. Fryer and Grounds and Maintenance, to store this, to save money. So that's always at the forefront of what they're doing, just like with, you know, what you guys do as well.
Scott, is the infield of the track gonna be turf?
There's gonna be a turf field there. So that'll be a second turf field, more for lacrosse, soccer, other alternates.
Field hockey.
It'll be laid out, yeah, you know, soccer and upcoming, you know, these are improvements that they're looking to do. And then, after the other one done, then it'll be the sports building outside of the back of the gym. That'll be the final piece, you know, further, you know, hopefully
Field
improving the
house
whole
is what
sports complex.
Call it a field house, right?
Field house, yeah. It's like half a football field, it's
Yeah.
covered, it'll be turfed inside. So then now weather and other restrictions, which we've always had, you know, I think the track and field sometimes runs around the high school in the hallways, which I can
Yeah,
tell you
no,
that
we're
the
always
bumps and
track.
bruises my son would come home with, because we are not the most coordinated family. But now we would have the alternates for that, plus also alternates for the ROTC kids, you know, to drill and train, because that program is taking off, so.
We're always competing for that field space too, certain
Yeah,
times a year.
there's only so much, and like you said, there isn't much flat field around here as it is. So it's not like we can, you know, go out and look elsewhere.
And when you look at the track, it looks like they really did get pretty far, so.
They did. And like I said, that was all the drainage which they drag out towards the water plant. That's the main piece of it. And then, of course, the topsoil, all the layers, which you can't do until, you know, the frost. But
If I can leave you with one thought, hockey rink. Hockey rink.
giant tax increase.
It's okay, though, you bring.
Take that back.
You want them to build a hockey
Yeah,
rink?
why not? It'll be right around
Yeah,
the
like
street,
10
right
kids.
around the corner.
You want to put a tax-paying business out of
If
it?
I was gonna push anything, I would push for a pool
Putting a
personally.
moratorium on ice rinks. new
Yes,
ice rinks.
I agree. But just don't talk to Brewster Ice Arena. I'm sure they want another one coming up soon.
Nice.
Thank you.
Does anyone else from the public have a comment? Anyone from the board have a comment?
No?
No? Nope.
No? I make a motion to close the meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.